Hello everybody, Senior Engineer, MBA, and Investor. And in today's video, I want to take a look at Caribou's press release. So this is pretty interesting, guys. This happened in the JP Morgan conference just under 2 weeks ago. And basically, Caribou went out and delivered some big news. Now, before I get in that news, before I talk about it, maybe we want to talk about maybe the stock a little bit. And if you've been watching this channel for a little bit, I have not covered stock prices in a while because we're in a bear market. Things have been declining. There's not much to talk about with the stock price. I mean, how much content can you spin out of technical analysis until people actually get bored, right? And I think there's one thing that I definitely don't get bored myself, and if I don't get bored, then I think I should be making more videos on it. It's basically content on data, right? Data science, on the actual data points. And I read something last night saying, I think someone said, and I'm paraphrasing here, the biggest mistake investors make in the biotech market is relying on the data. And although I agree with that sentiment in the last 2-3 years, I think looking back in a couple of years, it's going to look ridiculous as a statement because the data has been so good and it's going to be so great in the next 2, 3, 4 years that it's going to be extremely naive to think that the data is not going to push these companies' stock price up once we're out of this bear market. So there's a little caveat here. Now, obviously, I'm not going around saying, you should always make investments just based on data. Obviously, the stock market is unpredictable. This just doesn't just apply in the CRISPR landscape. It applies for any industry, whether that's the technology space, social media space, streaming media, and so on, right? So just food for thought, right? So speaking of stock, Caribou CRBU stock price is now worth $136 million. That's a huge decrease of what we had in 2021 when they went public. I mean, this is kind of embarrassing. I mean, they have over double that amount in cash balance sheet. In fact, I think it's one of the only companies in the public stock market that has double cash balance sheet compared to what its value is in the stock market. So it's kind of interesting as to what we're looking at here. I'm using Bing here, so this is the first time I'm using here. I usually use Google, but because I'm using Edge browser, Bing just pull up there. It's not that bad, actually. It gives you the analyst buy ratings, 9 analysts is buy, gives you all that information, press releases, compares the stock with other companies in the landscape. It's not that bad. But nonetheless, here, let's jump into the news here that we want to cover here. So Yair, obviously member of our community in the CRISPR landscape, said the following: I have prepared a trade which elaborates the company prioritizing its restructured pipeline, the progress the CRBU has made in 2024, and its current corporate status. So obviously this thread goes over a lot of stuff, which I'm not going to go through a whole thread here, but I do want to kind of point out what was mentioned in the JP Morgan 2025 conference, which is that it has initiated the Gallup phase 1 clinical trial. Okay. So then now currently this company has 4 clinical trials. Now, this is pretty interesting for a company that's kind of a lot of people after NTLA. I think I would argue that Caribou, if you ask 10 people on X.com in this landscape, people that are actually aware of CRISPR and are actually aware of the biotech genomic space, I would argue about 7 out of 10 of them believe Caribou is going to go bankrupt within the next 2 years. If I had to guess, like 6 to 7 people, which is basically vast majority of people believe this company is going to go bankrupt. Now, it's a little bit hard to go bankrupt when the company is publishing that they're going to initiate, if you look at this graph here, phase 3 trial, the 2L-LPCL, which we kind of covered this program a couple of videos ago in the second half of 2025. Now, I got the caveat of people saying, well, that's only if data is good. Well, I mean, this applies for literally every single clinical program out there. If the data is not good, they're not going to pursue a phase 3 or they're not going to pursue the clinical program, period, right? So CBO 11, that's their next program here. They're starting here first half of 2025, a dose escalation for their camouflage phase 1 trial. And CBO 12, which is their third program, they're looking at progressive dose escalation for the Amplify phase 1 trial. And now we're looking at the 4 program, which they kind of are now saying that Gallop phase 1 trial, right? Which is pretty good. Which is very, very good. I'm very happy to see that, right? So look at another highlight here. 4 clinical programs with multiple 2025 milestones. $281 million cash, runway into the second half of 2026. Experienced mission-driven leadership. Now, these are kind of marketing jargons here, but here, this is the most important part here. Almost $281 million cash, which is enough runway into second half 2026, assuming they keep the workforce and the cost and so on, and assuming there's not a single penny that comes in their way with partnerships and so on, which I have a very hard time believing. Kind of the same stories at NTLA that I made the case for a couple of videos ago, maybe 2 videos ago, which I talked about all the options they have to raise more cash if their backs against the wall, right? And now, of course, the thread goes into each of these programs here, explaining what do they do. And again, amazing thread here from Yair. Did I like this thread? Yes, I liked it. I even bookmarked it. So a lot of good work here from Yair, as usual, member of our community. I just love how Yair makes it really simple for us to understand, the program and so on. I actually spent a lot of time reading some of his posts. Especially like when it comes to things that just press release and so on that I need to fully understand. I think it's really, really interesting. So 2025 is going to be a crucial year for Caribou. Although it has $281 million in the war chest, these funds will suffice just until next year. These upcoming milestones must pave the way for collaboration, which are needed for Caribou to push Caribou up the hill, which is crucial. It's crucial. It shows good data. So this is pretty big. This is very, very big. That they've released that. Now I want to kind of go. And sorry guys, I think the computer is a little bit lagging here, so bear with me here. So Jasbinder here said his opinion on Caribou's press release, and it was like the update. I like all the FDA designations they have: RMAT, fast track, orphan drug for CBO10, of course, and they show safety, efficacy, and durability, potentially on par with autologous CAR T cells. Now, you got to remember, the promise of this company is a one-time treatment. It's a said and done. You do it once, you're done. That's a big thing. That's a big sell. So they have cash until middle of 2026, which we just talked about. They will need a partner to help with funding and commercialization. With the good data in 2025, maybe Pfizer will become a big partner. I don't know if it's going to be Pfizer, but it's definitely going to be one of these big companies in the CRISPR landscape. Could be Vertex, could be any of these existing CRISPR, quote CRISPR, big pharma companies, because they want to dip their toes in the CAR T cells and maybe in the cancer space, especially with the new administration talking about eradicating cancer, and especially with RFK Jr. kind of taking the helm at it and kind of tackling the FDA's inefficiencies and a lot of talks about, why haven't we kind of cured cancer at this point in 2025. I think that's getting traction. I think a lot of these big pharma companies sitting on this much cash is going to say, well, we can sort of allocate maybe 0.5% of our total cash, or even less than a percent, even less than that, to be honest, when you think about the size of these big pharma companies. And of course, with the new administration kind of pushing that narrative and promoting those actions for them to partner up. And of course, Caribou needing a partner, right? Having enough cash until 2026, it seems like a long way, but it's not. It's just a year and a half, right? So this company is going to have to deliver on good data. I think they will deliver on good data. Everything's kind of pointing towards that. Now, I know there's a lot of naysayers saying it's never going to be up there. It's barely average. And people got to remember, you gotta be able to decipher between noise and signal. And there's a lot of noise in this bear market. There's a lot of smoke. There's a lot of noise. And to be kind of lost in that is completely normal, especially when you're just trying to, do your own research, build conviction, and you're kind of getting bombarded with negative people on X.com, on YouTube. Less on YouTube, actually. Nobody really covers CRISPR these days. I think I might be one of the only people that actually cover CRISPR like data wise. Maybe people do it on a technical analysis wise, but I just covered that at the beginning of this video, why I think it's gets pretty boring at some point there. So I know Reddit kind of disappeared with CRISPR, so it's really x.com these days. And you look at x.com and you browse through it, and there's a lot of negative naysayers. And again, people have lost like 80, 70, 60% of their portfolio. It makes sense for them to be negative. But people have to be reminded that this is the long term. There's a long process here. You gotta give it not just a couple of months, couple of years. And again, you make your own decisions, right? This is not financial advice. These are free videos for you to consult. And if you don't want that information for free, it's up to you. You don't have to watch these videos. Clearly, we're getting hundreds and 200s of views a day with these videos because people are interested, because people want some sort of information gathering to make their own opinion. I kind of covered here the stock price at the beginning, then I covered what's happening in the JP Morgan conference here, the updates, and of course the Caribou's long-term future, potential partners, looking at Jaspinder's post here, of course looking at years post previously. So as always guys, subscribe if you've not. Like this video guys. I will make timestamps. Someone's been asking me to create timestamps, so I'll do that, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a beautiful Saturday, and I'll see you on Sunday. Thank you.